ways a single vowel says its name. The most beautiful thing is, as a teacher, you have your chart and you can write the notes on the back of the page. If you are a student, you have your blank chart and you listen to the teacher dictate the words. Right now we are building our brain. You build your brain through audio, visual, oral, and your reading and writing skills, your kinesthetic. You're going to do something to actively teach your brain to read. You see, this is how English works. And if you take time, you are going to learn 3 new rules. And you're going to learn the principles that will help you read anything. So let's look at the rule number 1. The 3 ways a single vowel says its name, A, E, I, O, and U. Remember the Y says I. The first way is at the end of a syllable. Now there are short vowel sound words and there are long vowel sound words. I'm going to teach you the long vowel sound word because that's when the A say A. Otherwise, every word that says the short vowel sound could go in this blank. But let's look at the word table. Table. 2 syllables. There are many tables in your house. Which is your favorite table? I love my kitchen table because it's always filled with activity. Okay, let's write the word table. Sound it out. T, A, leave a space. B, O. Quick. Do you remember? Add the silent E. Now, do you know why you need the silent E? And this is how you review those silent E's right away. Every syllable needs a vowel. Underline the silent E twice and put a 4 by it. But with red, we're going to mark the A by drawing a line above the A. Why? Because of the rule. Number 1, A says A at the end of a syllable. The next word is secret. Shh. Reading is not a secret. This needs to be told on the mountaintops. This is how you read. Secret. Now think to spell the word secret. Secret. Now let's think to spell the first syllable. The S says S, S, E. And I'm going to use my blue. S, E, S. E says E at the end of a syllable. Cret. The C says K, K, R, A, T. Now read the word secret. Now with red, how do you mark this? Draw a line above the E because E says E at the end of a syllable. Rule number 1, why the vowel says its name. And you can notice right away the second E says eh. It is not at the end of a syllable. In fact, it's between 2 consonants. So they're timid and they're going to say their short sound eh. Secret. Okay, and the O. O says O like in the word robot. There's a lot of new robot inventions lately. Think to spell robot. How many syllables? Robot. 2. Let's write the first syllable, R, O, and I'm going to use my pencil. R, O. O says O at the end of a syllable. Bot. B, A, T. Now you notice the A is the short vowel sound. So that's why the student needs to know O says A. That's the short vowel sound. And in this program, we will review the short vowel sounds. A, I, A. But in this case, let's keep teaching. This is the 3 ways a single vowel says its name. Why does the O say O? Because it's at the end of a syllable. So with red, draw a line above the first O because it says O at the end of a syllable. And why don't we mark the second O? Because it's in the middle of the consonants and it's trapped. So it will be timid and say its short vowel sound ah. Remember the short vowel sounds? a, I, a. Okay, and for the letter U, what's the word? Human. You are part of the human race. Think to spell human. U. N. So let's write the first syllable. Hue. So with your pencil, U says you. Second syllable, N. Human. Now, how do you mark this word? With red. Draw a line above the U. Why? U says you at the end of a syllable. Now, I and Y are different because number one, they share the same sounds, and number two, they don't say their long vowel sounds at the end of the word. In fact, I and Y may say I at the end of a syllable, but usually say I or E. So let's look at the letter I. Now, I usually says I or E, like in the word dilemma. Sometimes reading causes a dilemma that can be solved by learning words on a chart first. Let's think to spell the word dilemma. How many syllables in the word dilemma? Dilemma. Dilemma. So let's write the first syllable. So with a regular pencil, D, I. Second syllable, M. Dilemma. And the A says at the end of a syllable. We learned that on the vowel consonant chart. A at the end of the word, A says at the end of a word. That's the rule. And it is the a, fourth sound, so we can put a 4 above that. Now, what about the I with red? What sound is the I making? D. It's the short vowel sound. So there's really nothing to mark because it is the short vowel. But if you have learned the little semicircle or the smile is the short vowel sound, you can put a circle above that. Dilemma. Dilemma. And if you can think of a sentence, write the sentence for dilemma. Sentences are the most powerful things in teaching oral language and teaching students how to think. Because when you can think in complete sentences, you are also increasing your reading capacity. So if you have good sentences for me, write the sentences for these words. These are guide words. You may just find this in a handbook for reading someday, credited to you, my students. And the next word, radio. We used to always listen to the radio in the car. Think to spell radio. First of all, how many syllables? Radio. Radio. Let's write it. R-A. So with your regular pencil, write R-A. Leave a space. The second syllable, D-E. The I says E. O. Third syllable, O. So notice in radio, A says A at the end of a syllable, O says O at the end of a syllable, but D, the I says E. This is the I. So what are the 4 sounds for the letter I? I, E. Yeah, that's the third vowel sound. So you can write a little 3 above the E, the E sound. Notice I said write it above the E because the I says E. When you're reading, you're linking the third vowel sound for the letter I is E. That's why I taught the vowel consonant chart earlier, because the third vowel sound for the letter I is E. How do you know that? Because you're going to go back and learn to write the phonograms, and then you're going to take a phonogram drill. That's the third video in my series, Drill the Skills. You want to drill the single letter phonograms till you can hear me say them and write the sounds. I, E, yeah. I, E, yeah. That's the third vowel sound. Now notice I may say I at the end of a syllable, but usually says I, like in dilemma, and E like in radio, I or E, but it may say I like in the word diet. A healthy diet is very important. Think to spell diet. How many syllables? Diet. Sound that out as you write it with your pencil. D, I, T, diet. Now, how do you mark this? With red, I want you to underline the I. I says I at the end of a syllable. Now, the Y, yep, I-E, may say I at the end of a syllable, but usually says I or E. I like in bicycle. I like to ride my bicycle. Think to spell bicycle. How many syllables? Bicycle. 3. Now think to spell it. B, I. Now here I says I at the end of a syllable. S, C says S, I. Y says I, K. And leave a space. Bicycle. K. Oh, do you remember every syllable needs a vowel? And you can review that silent E rule. So underline the E twice. It's the 4th reason every syllable needs a vowel. And you can draw a line above the I because I does say I at the end of a syllable in bicycle. But what about the Y? Yeah, I, E. Yeah, I. The I is the second sound. That's the short vowel sound. So we're going to put a 2 above it. Yeah, I, E. And you know why the C says S? Because, and I love to go back to the charts, because as a teacher you have the consonant vowel chart right away handy. If you're a student, you have your charts handy right away because you want to be able to find them at all times as reference. C says S before E, I, or Y. You will memorize rules as you see them. You will use them and learn them in use. And I'm going to be reviewing them in this program as I teach it because that's how you use it. Okay, let's go back to the Y can say I or E, like in hobby. Can you tell me your hobby? What is your hobby? Think to spell hobby. Hobby. So let's write it. B-E. What does the Y say in hobby? E. That's the 4th vowel sound. Yeah. I-E. And that is not I. So we're going to put the 4 above it. And so I and Y may say I at the end of a syllable, but usually say I or E. These rules will be in the notes. Please click the link below to get the materials I'm using today. These rules are in the notes. Now the next word and the last word for this part of the 3rd way a single vowel says its name. Y says I at the end of a syllable, like in the word by. By. I live by a creek. By. B-I. Think to spell B-I. Now with red, how do we mark it? Draw a line above the Y. I. Why? Because Y says I at the end of a syllable. Those are the names of the vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. But I and Y may say I at the end of a syllable, like in diet and buy, but usually say I like in dilemma, and E like in radio, I like in bicycle, and E like in hobby. So these are the words used to teach the first way the single vowel says its name. Now let's go on to the second half. This again is a review of the silent E. Now, when I teach younger children, I only teach the long vowel sound. So I have this chart ready for younger children. If the children can learn this from the beginning, handwriting, writing charts, reading charts, they will be better readers, so much better, and your hard work will pay off. If you are a learner that is struggling to read, please look at the long vowel sound column. Okay, that's what we're going to focus on, because why do the vowels say their name? The second reason, and it comes before a silent E, and that works for all the vowels. Let's try the word cane. My grandpa walked with a cane. Now we're going to use the letter C to make the K sound. You'll notice I explicitly tell which letter is used because there are two ways to spell K with a single letter. So we're going to use the C. K. A. What makes the A say A? Quick. That's not cane, it was can. Quick, put a silent E. How do we mark it? With red. We're going to draw a bridge from the A to the E. That's why we need the silent E. Underline the E twice, because it is a silent letter. We always underline silent letters twice, and this is a silent E. A says A before a silent E, because it can look over the consonant, see the silent E, and be bold enough to say his name. Notice the pattern. Look over the consonant and see the silent E. The next word is Pete. Now, Pete is the short name for Peter. Have you ever read the story of Peter Rabbit? It's very cute. But Pete lost his jacket in Mr. McGregor's garden. We're going to write the word Pete. Now, we always capitalize the name of the first letter of names. So we're going to write capital P, Eat. And quick, that's pet. Quick, we need a silent E. Now the vowel can look over the consonant and be bold enough to say his name. Eat. Pete. And how do we mark it? Underline the E twice. Why? It's a silent letter. Draw a bridge from the I to the E. Why? Because that's why we need the silent E. We're analyzing how the word is spelled, how it is written, how it is pronounced. And notice I introduced the capital letters. Now, when you're teaching younger students and they have not learned the capital letters, I always teach the lowercase letters first to learn the phonograms, and then we have fun learning the capital letters. Capital letters are easier to teach, and so you can teach them a variety of ways. At another lesson, I will enjoy teaching you all the ways I've done. All right, now, the I and Y, remember, these go together because they say the same I sound. But let's write the word pine. There's a tall pine tree near my house. P. With your pencil. P. Sound it out. P. I. And quick. That was pin. We need a silent E. And I have a student that's always faster than me. I'm already done, he says. And that's the idea. Can they do it and then look at your word, and is it correct? That's reading. Reading is, and writing is hearing it from dictation and writing it correctly. Reading it is read what you wrote and you can read it correctly. And then you look at the teachers and yes, you got it right, you're good to go. Or no, it's not right, you better fix it. That's okay, because that's what erasers are for. How many beautiful erasers do you get as a child? Because you never want to be afraid of making mistakes. And I've got to remind myself of that every time I make a video, because we are human. And that's okay to make mistakes. But you know what? We are learning to read, we're learning to write, and that's our goal. That's our mission. That's why we're here today. Now, how do you mark it? Underline the E twice. Why? It's a silent letter. And then draw a bridge from the I to the E. Why? Because that's why we need a silent E. Because the vowel can look over the consonant and see the silent E and be bold enough to say his name. And the Y says I, like in the word type. I like to type things. There's nothing wrong with typing. In fact, typing is very good. My son wrote books by hand, and now he's into typing his books by hand. But let's write with your hand first. Type. T. I. Y says I. T. I. P. And quick. That's tip, like in typical. Tip. Don't forget the silent E. And how do you mark it? Draw a bridge from the Y to the E. Why? Because the Y says I because of the silent E. That's why we need a silent E. There's 5 reasons for the silent E's. Then you will be able to read the words you come across, and you'll be able to spot the E's. That's why you learn these rules, so you can spot the silent E's. You can spot the ways the vowel says its long vowel sound. That's an analytical way to sound out words. Okay, the O says O, like in the word road. The cowboy rode off into the sunset. Road. Think to spell it. Sound it out. Ode. Don't forget that's rod, like a curtain rod. Don't forget the silent E. And you'll notice in the other lessons I use rob and robe. You can, like the bank robber robbed the bank and the emperor wore a robe. You can use lots of words to illustrate the silent E. And of course, this road is the past tense of ride. With older students, I always introduce grammatical terms because grammar is everything. When you can learn how to read, write, and spell, sentence structure, syntax, semantics, all of these things work hand in hand, and you sow the seeds while you're teaching the chart. So how do we mark this? With red, draw a bridge from the O to the E. That's why you need the silent E. Underline the E twice. Now the U. U says you, like in the word cute. Aren't you cute? Cute. And that's the funnest thing when you're teaching words like this and teaching rules. Kids have great imaginations. And you know what? Every adult was a kid. Your imagination is every bit as cute. So write your words, write your thoughts, tell me what you're thinking, because you want to make English come alive. You're learning how to read English. It's such a wonderful thing when you understand how to read it. First, understanding how to write it will help you to read it. Let's write the word cute. Cute. Now sound it out. The letter C says k, k. U says you, k, you, t. What is that word? Cut. I do not think a cut is cute. I want cute. That cute kitty is adorable. How do we mark it? With red, draw a bridge from the U to the U. Why? Because that's why we need the silent E. Draw a bridge from the U to the E. That's why we need the silent E. Underline the silent E twice. And that's it. That is the, number 4. These are all the first reason for the silent E. Draw a bridge from the U to the E. That's why we need the silent E. And you'll notice we don't number them because these are all the first reason for the silent E. Okay, and then the third reason, vowels I and O may say I and O when followed by two consonants. So they help us with words, and here I do write 4 words. They help us with words like mint. I have a mint plant growing in my garden. Mint. Mind. We are building your mind today. Think to spell mind. Do you see how it's very simple and very easy to spell words? But let's just think, why did we spell mint with the I and mind with the I? Because I and O may say I and O when followed by 2 consonants. Now, why are there 2? What are the 2 consonants? N and D. And to help you, you can just draw a line above the I. Okay? And that will call attention to the words that say I. Pint, pint. And in my handbook that I'm writing, you will have the list of all the confusing words that you teach, because you are learning English and you're helping your students, and you're seeing which word goes with which chart, so the confusion is cleared up. And the last word, golf. I love to play golf. G, A, O, F. G, A, O, F. Golf. That's an easy word. But what about gold? Let's think to spell gold. G, O, D. Look. What does the O say? O says O when followed by 2 consonants. And that's the mindset that you're learning. You're learning to read. You're learning to think. And you're learning to spell. And all these things go together. And that is your 3rd chart for the Comprehensive Phonics program. Remember, we're learning to walk. When you walk, you have 2 steps. You have to learn the single letter phonograms. Drill the skill. I have the video. You can learn the handwriting drill. It teaches you how to write them. The handwriting video teaches you how to write them. And the phonogram drill reviews what you've learned, because you need to know the sounds. Single letter phonograms say 1, 2, or 4 sounds, and the vowel consonant chart reinforces that knowledge. And then vowel 2, the silent E chart, reinforces that knowledge while adding the silent E rules. And we learn the third chart today, the ways a single vowel says its name. You see how the program is being built. And if you'll notice, there are spelling words, section A. So everywhere we go, we're going to be walking. Take 1 foot off the ground and go forward. Keep going forward. Keep going forward. And you will be reading soon. If you like this video, please comment, because right now I'm building my videos for you. But I'm going to put these videos all online, because I know you're going to be reading these, you're going to be watching this video in years to come, because this is how you can teach reading successfully. So I'm so glad you were here today, and I will see you next time. Remember, work hard at work worth doing. You spent your time with me today. You're hearkening back to that great President Theodore Roosevelt, who led our country in those years. And he is wanting to encourage us to work hard at work worth doing. Learning how to read is one of the hardest works that's worth doing. Reading is a learned skill, and learning to read is work worth doing. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.